recording. Okay. Okay. So thank you for coming to this presentation. Today I will introduce you to Le Quartier Latin, which is a small area in the south, in the center of Paris, at the south of the Seine. But I will show you a map so you can see where it is. And I chose to talk to you about Le Quartier Latin because it's very interesting from an historical and cultural point of view. There is a lot of life in this neighborhood, and also because I've been living there for 5 years, and it's one of my favorite places in the world. So it's very important to me to talk to you about this neighborhood. Okay, so here you have, so on the corner right, you have a little map of Paris. So if you ever went to Paris, you may recognize some of the most famous museums, etc. So you can see where it is. So Le Quartier Latin, so the Latin Quarter is just there. And here is a little zoom on. So it's So it's inside. It's delimited by this big boulevards and streets. So first, to begin with, why is it called the Latin Quarter? There are two explanations for this name. First, because it is the historical emplacement of Lutetia. Lutetia is Paris' name during the antiquity under the Roman Empire. And when you look at the streets, you can recognize the layout of the Roman roads. Very it was very straight, big roads, so you can recognize on the map. But we can also find remains of this time, like the thermal bath or the Lutetia Arena. So here is the arena. This is a photo that I took a few months ago. So you can see the central arena, the doors and the bleachers. So I was standing on the bleachers, and this is the view of the arena. So today it is a quiet enclave. It shelters you from the noise of the street, so you can relax in this place. So the Latin legacy remains in this small area of Paris, so the Latin Quarter. Another explanation is that the Latin language was used and is still used, but a bit less, in the higher spheres of education, and the Latin Quarter is also a specific quarter because it is the student quarter. But I'll tell you about it later. So to begin with, I think the most emblematic monument of this quarter, the Panthéon. So Le Panthéon is a very impressive monument that stands on the top of the hill in the Latin Quarter, because the Latin Quarter is on a hill, kind of. It is also a legacy of the Latin era, as the Pantheon in ancient Rome was the temple of all the gods. In Greek, pan means all, and theo means God, so all the gods. Its construction lasted from 1757 to 1790. It is 110 meters long by 84 meters wide and 83 meters high. With the crypt beneath of the same size. So why is there a crypt in the Panthéon? So it was supposed to be a church, but after the French Revolution, people decided that it would become a mausoleum for the remains of distinguished French citizens. So in its crypt, you can find famous men and women such as Voltaire, Marie Curie, who discovered radioactivity, the resistance leader Jean Moulin, or more recently Simone Veil, who was a minister who campaigned for the legalization of abortion in France. So also there are, so I tried to choose 2 men and 2 women, but in the Panthéon there are 72 men against 4 women. Hence the formula on the pediment that you can see here. Aux grands hommes, la patrie reconnaissante. So in English, you can translate it by a grateful nation honors its great men. So men, of course, not women, but yes. And so you can visit the Pantheon. The inside is very beautiful too. You can go to the crypt and pay your respects to the graves of the illustrious people who are buried here. But you can also go to the top of the Pantheon here on the dome, and you can enjoy a beautiful panoramic view of Paris. So I recommend it. It's really impressive. So now let's move on to the more intellectual aspect of the Latin Quarter, which is, as I said, the student quarter also. So in the Latin Quarter, which is I repeat, a very small area in Paris. There is the most prestigious schools and universities of Paris and of France in general. So that's also why the intellectual life is very rich there, because a lot of French and also international scholars went to high school and or college, university here. So they bond at school or at the cafes and restaurants nearby. So it's really a little world, a little bubble in Paris, maybe a close community. So that's why there is a lot of the intellectual life is very present here. So to give you an example, I don't know if you recognize these men. So here you have Jean-Paul Sartre that you may know, Gilles Deleuze and Michel Foucault. They are three philosophers of the 20th century, and they all went to the same school, the same high school and the same school. And so yeah, you can see them here, and that's a representation of the fact that philosophers and intellectuals would go to the same schools. And I will tell you also about it later. And so the Latin Quarter also had a particular role during May 68, because in May 68, it's a very important moment in French history. There was a great uprising in whole France against the government of Charles de Gaulle, and its authoritarian. It was very. Students would see him as an old man, and they would not respect him as much as their parents would do. And yes, it was very. People had the impression that he would not pay attention to the students, because there was a baby boom after the war. So a lot of young people grew up and they felt left out of French history. But so that is for the student part, because in all France and in all between I think workers and I think so in the whole France there were strikes, demonstrations, etc. So students mobilized and lot if they were joined by intellectuals, and there were many altercations between the police and the students in the streets, as we can see on this picture. And also the universities were occupied. Students discussed a lot about politics. They organized demonstrations. So they had fights with the police, and that was mainly in the Latin Quarter. And yes, so talking about prestigious schools, let's start with the high schools, the beginning. So the two most famous and prestigious high schools in France are Henri IV and Louis le Grand. They are both located around the Pantheon, at a few meters apart. So they are named after two kings of France, Henry IV and Louis XIV. Louis le Grand was created in 1563, and Henri IV was created in 1796 in an old abbey. So you can see the very particular architecture of the lycée. The two high schools can be considered as rivals, especially in terms of preparatory classes for prestigious high schools, from business schools, or yes, for I don't. It's a very specific. It's a very specific system of French education system, and so both high schools have well-known alumni, such as Emmanuel Macron here, and late presidents Jacques Chirac and so that you can see here, and Valéry Giscard d'Estaing for Louis le Grand, and also Molière went to Louis le Grand also. And I don't know if you know this singer. He's called Patrick Bruel, and he made a song about Henri IV. So that's why I put him there. And we can notice that a lot of their former students led successful career and or became famous philosophers, politicians, journalists, artists, etc. So that's also the men I show you in the last pictures. Then went also to these high schools. So for the universities, you may know La Sorbonne, which is France's oldest university. It was built in 1253 and inherited its name from Robert de Sorbonne, who created it. And its emblematic chapel that you can see here was built in 1642. So there is a little square in front of it where students would meet, take coffee and discuss. Its name now refers to the World University of Paris, which is subdivided in smaller universities. I think it's also quite complicated to understand for people who are not familiar with it. There are 3 smaller universities that really attend class in the La Sorbonne campus. Paris 1 Panthéon-Sorbonne, Assas, and Sorbonne University. So they all count more than 40,000 students. So they study nearly every discipline possible: law, economics, politics, literature, medicine, etc. So its most beautiful campuses are La Sorbonne Mère, that you can see here, Mère as a mother, La Sorbonne Mère, and La Faculté de Droit, so law school here, also located in front of the Panthéon. And here you have the biggest amphitheater in La Sorbonne, Richelieu. So the inside is very beautiful and very ancient too. So yes, it's quite a beautiful university. But the Quartier Latin is a little bit more diverse than one might think. In fact, it has been home to the oldest mosque in France since 1926. This mosque is linked to the colonial history of France, since it's France mostly colonized Muslim countries like Algeria or Morocco. It was built, among other things, to honor the memory of soldiers from the colonies who died during the First World War. So it has a mixed style. It's called Neo-Moorish or Moorish Revival. This means that it was designed by European architects during a period of fascination for Oriental art. So yes, so what's very interesting and pleasant with this mosque is that, of course, there are rooms and who are dedicated to the religion, praying room. Madrasa is a school for to learn about the Quran, Arabic gardens, etc. But it also conceals a library, a tea room, a restaurant, and a hammam. So here is a tea room, and I recommend you to go to the tea room. It's really pretty. It's often a bit overcrowded, but you can take the time to sit there and drink a green tea and eat the delicious pastries. They are really, really good. I recommend them. You can also visit the mosque, as you can, like the picture of the gardens in the background. Also, if you want to walk and to stroll in the Latin Quarter, you can go to Le Jardin des Plantes. So it's dedicated to nature, science, and archaeology. The building that you can see here is La Grande Galerie de l'Évolution, in which you can learn more about the evolution theory, like extinct animals or science, and yes, archaeology. And there is also a building dedicated to dinosaurs, and it's quite fascinating. And so it's on the east of the Quartier Latin, and at the west, you have Le Jardin du Luxembourg that you may know. So it's perfect to idle and sunbath and read a book. So you can sit there and read a book and eat an ice cream or what you want. And the Palais du Luxembourg that you can see here is also the French Senate. And So on a more personal note, what I recommend you to do on a day in the Latin Quarter is to go to one of these bookshops. Gilbert Joseph is a big and a great bookshop. It's the bookshop of the Quarter. Every student can go and buy their books in Gilbert Joseph. And for English-speaking people, so you have Shakespeare and Company. It has a quainty charm, I would say, and there is also a tea room, and you can go there and buy books in English, and that's where I go when I want to read something in English. And after that, you can go relax and rest at La Place de la Contrescarpe. You can take a drink or a coffee, a beer, a glass of wine, what you want. Then you can go to a restaurant, Rue Mouffetard. So there is this is a very often crowded street when you can, but when you go there on the evenings, there is a lot of people, and it's quite pleasant too. And after that, you can go to the movie in a small hour essay cinema. So here you have La Filmothèque du Quartier Latin, and that's great too. And if you want to spend the night in the neighborhood, you can go to Le Caveau de la Huchette. I don't know if you've seen La La Land, but at the end they go to a cave where people dance and play jazz, and you can. It's a real place in real life. It's called Le Caveau de la Huchette, and it's great if you want to dance with your partner, if you want to listen to jazz, live music, and so for it's a great thing to do in the Quartier Latin. So that's it for me. So thank you for your attention. If you have any questions on what I said, if you have any suggestions, maybe if you are more interested in one of the monuments I told to you about, you can ask any question or tell me what you think.
So why did you pick the Latin Quarter to live over the other quarters?
Because I went to, so I did not grow up in Paris, but after I don't know, because after I got my baccalaureate, I don't know what the equivalent is in America, but after that I went to Henri IV, so the lycée here, and so to attend the preparatory class, and I live near Henri IV, and I didn't move after that. Even if I don't study in Henri IV anymore, I stayed in the neighborhood because I'm really fond of it, and it's a nice place to live.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci, Justine.
Merci à vous.
Merci, Justine.
Merci. Do you have any questions?
No, it looks lovely. I
Yes,
will visit.
Yes, yes, really. Yes, if you have the opportunity to go to Paris, really go to this place. It's there are a lot of things to do for tourists and for just to visit. It's really nice.
So what is your favorite cafe?
Cafe in